If you were to ask who the most dominant team was for the first half of Rocket League esports, a different European team would come to mind, that is Flipside Tactics. But the second half has been a completely different story. In this video, I'm looking at the story behind Dignitas' complete dominance in RLCS, how they formed after Season 3, and really why they are the greatest team in Rocket League history. I hope that you guys enjoy this one. Make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy it, and make sure to subscribe for more videos like this one. So the story begins actually way back in Season 3 of RLCS with a single player, and not a star player. This story kind of begins like a lot of stories do, with an underdog. This was a player who was really not on anybody's radar, and he was actually a sub for the entire season. Northern Gaming went into the live finals with one of their star players, Maestro, having to not play, so they had to use their sub, Turbopolsa. Now many thought that this would probably put them in an even worse position to be able to compete against the best teams. Not only is it just the fact that they didn't have one of their best players, there's that element of chemistry when it comes to Rocket League teams. Turbo hadn't been playing with them all season, and there was that sort of famous Remco Maestro duo, and now that was no more. But as we know from Season 1, with Over0 stepping in for IBP, sometimes the very thing that you need is a little bit of change.
Now, last but not least, Turbo. Subbing in and showing people that not only can you play, but you can play well on this stage. What's it like subbing in and doing what you did, winning a world championship?
I don't know. I must have knew Over0. No.
Oh my goodness.
Now, in some ways, this was an even bigger underdog story, though. Northern Gaming actually went all the way through the lower bracket, and they ended up winning the finals after a bracket reset, and Turbo took home the MVP. What really stood out to me at this time was Turbo's demeanor the entire tournament, and this really hasn't changed since then. He shows no nerves. He played those games during the live finals like they were just casual fun games, like they were just, regular games, or it really looked like he'd been there before, like he'd been in this situation. And he really led that team through the tournament. So that was sort of the starting point of everything, and really the forming of this team was Turbo's just sort of rise onto the scene as one of the best players in the world. But there was another player actually on the other side of that grand finals, which is KDOP. Now, I really thought that Season 3 was the season for KDOP. He was incredibly dominant throughout all of Season 3, and Mocket looked unstoppable at LAN. I thought this was going to be his season to win, and obviously that didn't end up happening, but I think it was definitely a learning experience for him. All of these big losses are really important for players. It seems like players who go through these really learn a lot. And then there's Violent Panda. Now, he'd been on Pashy's team for a few seasons, and they'd had some really good seasons. They'd had really amazing teams, and they'd just been picked up by Gale Force Esports, but they failed to even qualify for LAN, which was why it was kind of surprising when, during the European Shuffle after Season 3, Gale Force managed to keep Violent Panda and pick up Turbo and KDOP. This had the potential to be a dream team. I honestly wasn't sure how this matchup would work. There was a lot of unknown. Is Turbo really as good as he played at the live finals of Season 3? Violent Panda was obviously good, but he wasn't like a household name like so many other players. Now, KDOP is KDOP. Everybody knew he'd do well. Everybody knew that he would in some ways be the backbone of this team. Now, this brings us to Season 4, which was really the proving ground for Gale Force as a team, which would soon to be Dignitas later on. Now, they had done well in summer competitions. Some of them they won, sometimes they took second. They struggled early in Season 4 during league play, but once they found their groove, they really became the team that they basically are today, using the playstyle that they basically use today. And I knew this team had something special when they absolutely rolled over Flipside and PSG in the European Online Finals, and then beat Method to win the European Championship. Like, during that tournament, they looked better than basically everybody else. Still though, we hadn't seen them perform on the biggest stage as a team. We'd seen them play at LANs, and they'd cracked a few times during the summer tournaments, and they lost to teams that honestly they probably should have beaten. But the situation is such that these experiences have only seemed to strengthen them as a team. Like, even at this first World Championship that they came to in Season 4, as this lineup, they came in looking like complete veterans. Like, they had won every single RLCS before that. And their performance was really unlike anything that we had seen in Rocket League. They made teams look bad. Like, experienced teams who had, powerful offenses could do nothing against their defense. they just outplayed everyone. And I remember watching this season of RLCS and watching this LAN and thinking, wow, nobody is really playing good except Gale Force. But now I realize looking back, that wasn't the case. They were just playing better than everyone else. They were basically in the process of raising the bar for what it means to actually play as a team. And the only other team that was really going to be able to hang with that kind of play style was Method, because that's how Method plays. It's all about team plays. It's really not about being flashy for them. But even Method ended up getting shut out in the finals, the only sweep to ever happen in the live finals. So Gale Force had now proven that they were the best team in the world, and Turbopolsa had now won 2 RLCS championships in a row. So this brings us to the last season of RLCS. And at this point, Gale Force is basically the team to beat. They had kind of become like the Yankees of Rocket League at this point. Gale Force, soon to be Dignitas, lost only 1 game during the regular season, and then they won the regional championship to go into the live finals as the European #1 seed. But there was another team dominating on the other side of the ocean, which was NRG. Now NRG had an incredible season. They went 7-0 in league play with their new star rookie Justin. And NRG sort of emerged as the Gale Force of NA. Everything about their game is just so solid, and more than anything, they were creating that same level of offensive pressure that teams just like couldn't handle. It didn't matter if you scored a goal on them, didn't matter if you scored 3 goals on them, they were still probably going to beat you, and they still do that today. Now, the Season 5 live finals really were the NRG and Dignitas show. Everybody else, looked good at points, but would just sort of flop also at points or throw games or throw series. They just didn't. These two teams just played better than everybody else, which is why it was so exciting when they faced off in the live finals after NRG had already knocked Dignitas down to the lower bracket with that incredible sweep. Now, I'm guessing you probably know the story by now. Dignitas, formerly Gale Force, took the first best of 7, forcing a bracket reset, and then the final moments of the second series came down to a single goal from Turbo with 4 seconds left, and then obviously this crazy 0-second goal from Justin, and then a pretty lame final goal from Turbo, again to basically win the tournament. Now for me, the difference between these two teams in this live finals actually showed well before these final moments. It wasn't what happened in the last 10 seconds. And the difference between the teams really just came down to experience. None of the NRG squad had played in the finals before. Obviously Garrett and Fireburner had a ton of experience, but Justin had never played in this kind of situation. And so NRG ended up giving the first few games of the second series to Dignitas. And it looked like it was because of the first series, having lost the first series, they just sort of threw the first few games. And in the end, I think it just came down to experience. And you can see this after Justin made this goal to force overtime. Imagine being in that moment and imagine being Dignitas. You just basically won the game with 4 seconds left, and then everything, all the momentum just swings back against you, and the other team is in a great situation to win, and you've got to play in overtime now. But when you have this kind of experience and you're a team like Dignitas, you just don't view it this way. It's just another OT, it's just another goal, and you have to compose yourself and just go make it happen, which is the exact opposite of what NRG did. Now this brings us up to where we are in Season 6. Dignitas is undefeated in the regular season, and they're clearly the best team in Europe. I would say they're clearly the best team in the world. Still, nobody looks as good as them. Unless something changes, honestly, I see them winning the RLCS Season 6 World Championship as well. Some other team will probably really get their act together and start playing on their level, but in the end, it's going to come down to that experience. Nobody's been on that stage the way that they have. Who knows though, RLCS is back in the US. I guess it's on my American fan base to just pump up our American team so much during that tournament that they can't help but win. Now here's the weird thing, and I don't know if this is true for every esport, but I feel like it is in some ways. None of us really mind having a team like this do well. I mean, yeah, it would be nice to see another team win, but we all just love Rocket League and we love seeing great matches, and that's what we want. And yeah, it sucks when your team loses, but it's not the same for me personally as it seems like it is for people who watch just traditional sports. I love watching all the teams, love watching all the players, and I really do wish the best for everybody playing. And I suspect deep down that most of you guys probably view it that way as well, at least to some extent. Anyways, there's the story behind Dignitas' incredible dominance in the last few seasons of RLCS. And again, for me, the takeaway and really the reason why they are as good as they are is just experience and the ability to stay composed no matter what happens. They've proven that winning RLCS is not about playing flashy or having that one really insane player. You have to play as a team and you have to win as a team, and that's what they do. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. Make sure to leave a like if you did, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.